Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 571. The Suspicions of Jun Moxie. From the hug, Mei Shuayan could clearly feel the natural scent from Jun Moxie's body. Hearing his voice, Mei Shuayan confirmed that Jun Moxie was definitely the guy in the black robe. However, Mei Shuayan decided not to expose him and let it be a secret between both of them. Besides, being able to enjoy Jun Moxie's performance every day sounds like a good idea. Whether or not Jun Moxie is actually the guy in the black robe, it doesn't matter anymore. As long as he is safe, that's what matters the most. Jun Moxie felt relieved after seeing how Mei Shuayan had finally calmed down. He then turned around and walked towards Guan Qinghan. Seeing Jun Moxie walking towards her, Guan Qinghan became bashful, as well as gratified, but the next moment, she became cold again. She slowly looked down and bit her lips without uttering a single word. Are you worried for me too? From what Jun Moxie knew, Guan Qinghan was considered a tall girl. Other than Mei Shuayan, other girls such as Ling Meng, Dugu Xiao Yi, Han Yan Meng, Sun Xiao Mei Shi Wang Qian Sun were all shorter than her by 1 or 2 centimeters. However, in front of Jun Moxie, she was shorter than him by more than half a head. Guan Qinghan smiled forcefully. Just as she was about to lift her head, Jun Moxie pulled her into an embrace and gently spoke into her ear. Don't worry. Your man will not die so easily. Cats have 9 lives. But I have 81. 9 cat lives. Guan Qinghan felt her body became weak as she felt the warmth and manly scent from Jun Moxie. Hearing how he referred to himself as her man made her heart beat faster and she blushed unconditionally. This time she did not struggle but silently laid in his arms. Guan Qinghan decided to not against her heart anymore. During the past few days, Mei Xianyan seemed to be on the edge and Guan Qinghan was about to go crazy too. For now, being able to listen to his heartbeat by his chest is such a blessing. Suddenly, the grievance she felt disappeared. No matter what happened, it's all worth it. These days, young Master Jun had been flirting with both Mei Shuayan and Guan Qinghan and both were slowly getting used to it, accepting the presence of one another. Although, both Mei Shuayan and Guan Qinghan would unavoidably get jealous of each other, they did understand Jun Moxie's intention. Furthermore, in this masculism generation, it was not a big deal for men to have 3 or 4 wives. In fact, it was very rare for men to only have 1 wife and even the most gentlemanlike Taoist student would not question the fact. For Jun Moxie, who was about to be 18 years old, to not have any concubine was very rare. At least among the aristocrats in Tianxiang City, it was very uncommon. In fact, some men who were even 2 to 3 years younger than Jun Moxie already had a group of concubines. As Jun Moxie and Guan Qinghan hugged for a while, they could both feel the affectionate warmth, making them feel blessed to be with each other. After a long time, Guan Qinghan lifted her head up from his embrace. Her face was bright red, as she avoided Jun Moxie's gaze. Her cold facade from the past was long gone. At that moment, Guan Qinghan resembled a shy and timid young wife. Mei Shuayan was very anxious and worried for the past few days and Guan Qinghan clearly understood that it was all due to the disappearance of Jun Moxie. Although Guan Qinghan did not know what happened, from the reaction and behavior of Mei Shuayan, she knew that it was something serious. Did Jun Moxie encounter something dangerous that is hard to get over? If not, why would Mei Shuayan with such superb cultivation be so worried? Therefore, those few days, Guan Qinghan felt very heavy-hearted too. Seeing how Mei Shuayan got more depressed as the days passed, Guan Qingyan knew that something really serious had happened, slowly getting past her. Now, seeing how Jun Moxie is alive, Guan Qinghan felt relieved, as if she regained something back that she lost before. Hence, even if Guan Qinghan had a cold facade before, at this moment, she did not want to hide her feelings anymore. It was because happiness had torn down her cold mask that she was wearing all along. Of course, once reality hit her, she put on her cold facade once again and got out of Jun Moxie's embrace. Jun Moxie looked at both of them and wondered what happened between them. Their behavior and emotions flipped as quick as a book. Their heated passion towards him were all felt just before. Just as he was being elated about it, thinking how Cupid was finally on his side, they instantly went back to how they were before. Cold. Oh my God. The ups and downs of life came too quickly. This is killing me. Was it all a dream? Jun Moxie rubbed his face hard, only to be confirmed that he was indeed not dreaming. He sighed, women, they are so hard to understand. At one moment, they are all sunny, and the next moment, thunderstorm. They look so innocent and helpless looking before, but the next moment, they turned cold and pretended as if nothing happened. This is really testing a guy's heart. Being a human is hard, but being a man is even harder. Being a popular man is the hardest. Jun Moxie sighed, feeling a bit bitter. Hello, Xiao Qian Sun. Come here. Let me hug you. Please comfort my poor broken heart. Since Jun Moxie had no chance with the two beauty, he decided to flirt with another woman and hopefully succeed with her this time. The king of snake gave him a menacing stare and the atmosphere instantly became ominous. She had already hidden her little thoughts from him and was pretending to be fierce. What are you trying to do? We are not familiar with each other, she grumbled. Jun Moxie laughed and brought his face closer to her. Qian Sun rudely flicked her wrist and two snakes slithered out. Jun Moxie easily avoided the snakes as he pretended to be frenzied because of it. While shrieking, he jokingly said, "Oh God! Why are you so mean to me? Where did you get the snakes from? They are such wonderful goods. Do you still have them? Bring out a few more. I will be having a feast of snakes tonight. I appreciate your kindness." Qian Sun, Mei Shuayan and Guan Qinghan rolled their eyes, turned around and returned into the house. Instantly, young Master Jun was left alone outside, all by himself. Jun Moxie rubbed his nose, blinked his eyes a few more times and shamelessly followed them into the house. Even though Jun Moxie was getting stronger, he was still far from being the top. However, in being shameless, he is at the very top. There's one thing that I really do not understand. Jun Moxie went back to being serious. He looked at Mei Shuayan. According to the lineup of the three holy cities, any of the three is already more capable in terms of abilities when compared to Tian Fa Forest. In fact, just by looking at the lineup this time, any of the families when combined abilities could easily overpower Tian Fa Forest. And other than you, such as King of Snake before advancement, can never win against the people from the three holy cities. Jun Moxie paused for a while and said, in fact, Tian Fa Forest is not only inferior to them by a level. From what I know, only the 10 King of Beasts from Tian Fa Forest when in human form has stronger abilities. The rest, including the 9 mystical beasts, has only average capabilities. I thought it would be blessings after misfortune. What happened? Just by looking at the rankings, It appears that you guys from TNFA are stronger. It is really hard to understand. Mei Shuayan was solemn for a while before she said, "The analysis you did on the powerhouses are not wrong. But unfortunately you missed out a very important factor. Even if the people from the three holy cities are all deities, there are only a few of them. As compared to the mystical beasts from TNFA Forest who have trillion ideas. It may not be pleasant to hear. But a spit from a beast is enough to drown the three holy cities. The combined abilities from TNFA's beasts cannot be compared with the three holy cities. It is not that I did not consider this point. But when the quantity is at its limit, no matter how strong the enemy is, it will be useless. This is probably the original intention of the three holy cities when going against TNFA. But I am still very curious. TNFA mystical beasts are naturally gifted, and has the advantage. But as compared to the three holy cities, how could their superior abilities differ so much? Jun Moxie really could not understand this fact. Haze. TNFA is known for being ominous and even has a higher rank than the three holy cities. How could their superior abilities be any less of them? The number of fights that TNFA mystical beasts had been through is also similar to the three holy cities, however in the recent years, there were a few changes. Mei Xianyan seemed like she absolutely did not want to discuss this topic. She bit her lips and said, "To be honest, what should really appear in front of us today should not be the 10 King of Beasts but the Supreme King of Beasts." But, after an incident, the seniors retired. But since TNFA cannot leave the king's seat empty, the juniors must take over the front. Mei Shuayan obscured a lot of information when talking about it, and did not talk much about the details. So that's how it is. A person from a different generation. No wonder it was so strange. What actually happened to TNFA Forest? To put them in such a situation? But since Mei Shuayan refused to talk about it, Jun Moxie did not push further. His attention is now shifted to another goal. Why do you look so pale? Are you injured? Jun Moxie naturally would not say that he actually witnessed it. But seeing from the previous match, Mei Shuayan should not be severely injured. It is just an old injury. Nothing serious. Mei Shuayan bluntly said. Oh. I see. Jun Moxie thought that it makes more sense. But he did not notice that Mei Shuayan had told him the most obvious reason, which saves a lot of interrogation time. Why did you not look for me after injuring yourself? I am a skilled national champion doctor. Jun Moxie laughed. This kind of small injury is easy to heal. With me around, I can cure any type of illness. Jun Moxie grabbed Mei Shuayan's hand and started using his heavenly power to scan through her hand. All of a sudden, just as Jun Moxie's spiritual energy entered Mei Shuayan's meridian system, she suddenly got startled and immediately withdrew her hand from Jun Moxie. She quickly stood up and inconceivably blurted out, "Supreme level of cultivation? How did it become like this? It's impossible." Please subscribe to this channel, so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 572. If you move, you are a beast. Most people looked at Jun Moxie in shock and Mei Shuayan did not know what to do. No wonder when she saw him a while ago. She felt that something was amiss, but as she was feeling too overwhelmed, she did not look carefully. Furthermore, for someone who was only Spirit Xian 2 days ago to have become a supreme in a few days, this was too legendary. However, at that moment, Master Jun's entire body was filled with pure energy. Mei Shuayan naturally realized that this guy had only gone missing for no more than 3 days, and yet he had jumped from Spirit Xian's 2nd grade to the 6th grade. Once he reached 5th grade, He was already a supreme. At 6th grade, he was already a second-level supreme. This strength of power was at least superior of the grassland eagle god, Ing Bo Kong. How long has it been since I first met Jun Moxie in the Tien Fa forest? When they first met, his abilities were relatively weak and he was a mere jade xian. The second time they met, his progress was shocking as he was already a sky xian. This progress was so unbelievable. However, when they returned from Tiannan until several days ago, he had already reached Spirit Xian. This was a horrifying miracle. That was not the end of a string of surprises. In the few days he was missing, he quietly rose to a supreme. How should this be considered? A miracle within a miracle? A spiritual miracle? This is just a coincidence. Jun Moxie said with a rare humbleness. Then again, the cultivation techniques I have been practicing are mostly not normal. Maybe it is different from what you guys practice. Mei Shuayan used all her energy to hide her shock and slowly sat down. Coincidence? This was probably not a lie, but such great coincidence could be achieved only when present in great danger, as how could he reap rewards without any sacrifice? Only in a crisis then an opportunity exists. It seemed like he excessively used secret techniques which backfired. After he luckily overcame it, then he was blessed by a misfortune. After such a thought, Mi Shuayan looked at Jun Moxie with a softer look and unusually held his hand gently. Feeling her internal injury, she felt a warm, soft airflow endlessly enter her body without any discomfort. All she felt was a sense of calmness and an urge to fall asleep. Jun Moxie looked more and more serious. Mei Yan Shua's old injury seemed quite challenging for him. Actually, the injury was not a big problem. The biggest problem was that Mei Shuayan's body had a chilling gas entrenched on her artery. It would be troublesome and challenging to remove it. Who is so cruel? Who does this chilling gas belong to? Jun Moxie asked angrily. Yue Ban. Blood Shadow God. Mei Shuayan sighed. A few years back I was attacked by him. He left a handprint on my body. I managed to escape but with severe injury. After I returned, then I realized that the handprint came with an extremely evil unorthodox skill. I was focused on escaping and did not bother about the injury. Until I really started treatment, then I knew that it was too late to be expelled. All these years, I have tried various methods but none of them worked. So far, I can use my abilities to suppress it, but in the future, I can only leave it to fate. So it was this bastard. Back then, I should not have let him die so easily. Jun Moxie said with hatred. If I knew, I would have kept him barely alive and slowly torture him. Let him heal, then torture him again and again for a few years, then skin him alive. Mei Shuayan forced a smile. I can't do this here. Let's go to your room. Jun Moxie stood up seriously and made arrangements. Qian Sun. Stand guard outside and let no one in. No one is an exception. Including yourself. This is a crucial moment for your big sister. It is very important. Remember. Qian Sun, the king of snake, quickly agreed. The two of them entered Mei Shuayan's room. Jun Moxie looked extremely worried and said, this treatment process can be explained simply. It is to use pure spiritual energy to expel the poisonous gas from your artery and leave through the 3 yang meridians in your arm. It will feel unpleasant, very itchy and pain, but within this short amount of time, you must not move at all, not a single bit. However, once the poison has been expelled, go to sleep, and once you wake up, all will be fine. In fact, after this ordeal, you will have greater room for improvement. Mei Yanxue gently agreed. Okay. Then let's get ready. Take off your clothes. Jun Moxie said seriously. When your body emits the poisonous gas, especially starting from the artery, the gas is extremely stubborn. If it is hampered by clothing, it may endanger your body. By then, it will too late, said Master Jun as he could not help but reveal a sly perverted look in his eyes. What? I need to take off my clothes? Mei Shuiyan's eye widened and blushed. Of course you have to. Jun Moxie said with as a matter of fact seriously. You are a martial arts practitioner too. Don't you understand this logic? This is a necessary condition. We can't compromise on this. Now I am the physician. Who will you listen to if you don't listen to me? Mei Shuiyan considered for a while and finally decided. And said, I'll listen to you, but you, don't move. If you move, you are a beast. Once he heard that, Jun Moxie almost raised his head and howled like a fox, but he held it in and said seriously, Mei Yanxue, don't worry. I am not such a person. I am definitely a gentleman. In his heart. He added one more line, rather than being worse than a beast. I would rather be a beast. Mei Yanxue acknowledged but thought, anyway she had already decided that he was her lifelong enemy and it is destined to not change. She was still worried about him a few days ago. Regretting that she did not understand her feelings, furthermore. Him treating her injury. What he said made sense. She was the patient and he was the physician. She should listen to him. In that instant, Mei Shuiyan found countless reasons for herself and finally convinced herself. Her fingers were trembling as they gently grazed past her waist, ready to remove her clothes, but suddenly, she raised her head and said angrily, You turn around. Jun Moxie obligingly turned around while feeling secretly happy as although he did not get to see her at that point in time, he could later on. Furthermore, he could look at her all he wanted. If he did not see and look as he wished, he would be worse than a beast. The ruffling sound behind him continued for a while and Jun Moxie even heard Mei Shuiyan's breathing speed up and it seemed as though her body started to shiver. After a while, a soft voice asked, How about my underwear? Yes. Jun Moxie said with determination. This is the most crucial one. Any bit of deviation will bring great trouble. Even a tiny bit is crucial. Nothing can be left on. Mei Yanxue immediately grew suspicious. As Master Jun said, she was a martial arts practitioner and have seen the world. She naturally knew that some poisonous injuries required clothes to be removed during treatment to prevent any obstruction of airflow as the poison would return to the body. Perhaps the strong poison from the blood shadow god needed it too. However, Mei Yanxue knew that regardless of whatever poisonous injury, it was impossible that treatment required her to be totally naked. If the upper body was injured, it was sufficient to just remove the top. It simply required some looseness and not necessarily removing all the clothes. Jun Moxie explained previously that it would only move through the arm's 3 yang meridians, so why did she have to totally remove her top? Hence, at this crucial moment, Mei Yanxue intentionally asked a question. However, Jun Moxie's mind was already flooded with perverted thoughts and forgot everything. A slip of mouth and he did it with lots of desire. Extremely eager. Horrible guy. He really is worse than a beast. Mei Yanxue immediately got angry and fumed. She immediately put on her clothes and reached out to twist Jun Moxie's ears as she coldly said, Jun Moxie, you are really scheming. I belittled you too much when I said you were a beast. You are worse than a beast. Once she thought about how Jun Moxie lied to make her remove her clothes. Mei Shuiyan's face flushed in embarrassment and anger. She pinched his ears strongly with her right hand and twisted it more than 90 degrees, moving towards 180 degrees. Jun Moxie yelled like a slaughtered pig. Everything was proceeding smoothly and he did not think that he had let out any hints to be exposed. To him, she was pretty dumb, but who knew? She became crafty and caught him on the spot. He was in trouble. Jun Moxie quickly begged for forgiveness and yet, after a long while, Mei Shuiyan was still not appeased and had no intention of forgiving him. Say, is there any method that doesn't need me to remove my clothes? Hurry, I suddenly remember that there probably is one. Just that the effects. Jun Moxie quickly changed his statement as he could not bear the pain. Not one, right? All the methods do not require me to remove my clothes, right? Will the effects really be not as good? Mei Shuiyan tightened her grip again. Jun Moxie was helpless. After a long while, the poison was successfully expelled. Mei Shui's meridians had recovered back to normal under Jun Moxie's treatment. Mei Shui felt extremely sleepy and unknowingly fell asleep. Jun Moxie looked at the deep asleep Mei Shuiyan, who was as pretty as a painting, but yet, he could not forget his ear, which hurt really badly. Even if he had the intention, he did not have the guts. That day he had been labeled as worse than a beast, so he decided to not be one anymore. He was holding a jade bottle filled with black evilness. That was the evil matter he forced out of Mei Shuiyan's body. Jun Moxie turned and disappeared, but actually, he used the yin-yang escape to go down into the ground and carefully buried the jade bottle deep underground, then used the yin-yang escape to come back up. Wiping his cold sweat. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 573. Growing Stronger Together. Mei Shuiyan's old injury inflicted by the blood shadow god was really extremely poisonous. If it applied slightly on a normal person's skin, it would be enough to cause him or her to rot to death. It was not surprising that even with Mei Shuiyan's superb abilities, she could not deal with it. Also, luckily Mei Shuiyan's abilities were superb such that it could suppress it. If she was any weaker, she would have long died. Young Master Jun sighed and walked out. 4 other miracle physicians. They could get all that they wanted and people rushed to offer them benefits, yet even though he kindly offered treatment, he was beat up. Although it was because his intentions were not pure. Everyone is really different. In the next few days, Jun Moxie gathered people around him for a special training. This special training involved a limited number of people and even Jun Zhangtian and Jun Wuyi participated. Ingbo Kong and Feng Wanyun eagerly joined in. Jun Moxie even managed to assemble Hai Chenfeng and Song Shang. The aristocrats' hall was left in the hands of a fatty. The present aristocrats' hall was definitely the top auction hall in the capital and perhaps even the top in the mainland. The type that no one dared to mess with. Even if the guards fell asleep, no one would dare to create a ruckus there. Even Bailey Luo Yun and Evil Soul Eaters members came together to participate in the special training. Jun Moxie's goal was very simple: strength. Everyone to become stronger. Or to gain battle experience. In the previous confrontation with the 3 holy cities, although they did not lose too badly, it was exposed that the Jun family lacked superior combat strength. Even though the Jun family's current abilities and worldview were already top-notch, it was still insufficient. Then again, the leaders of the Jun family had consumed the 3 top pills, including the Donghua one, and thus have improved a lot quicker. However, The fact that their experience could not catch up is a big problem, so they need to adjust. Jun Moxie first used the Tianyuan pills to pull up Haichen Feng and Song Shang's abilities, then gave them a Tongyuan pill and a Juyuan pill each. He instructed the both of them to help each other and improved quickly. For Bailey Luo Yun, Jun Moxie's request was very simple: definitely must break through to the Sky Xian level within 10 days. He took out some miracle drugs for his growth. Only when they reach Sky Xian, then they will barely be able to consume the Sky Xian pills. Only when they break through Sky Xian to reach Spirit Xian, then they could consume the Tongyuan and Juyuan pills. This was an obstacle, but with Jun Moxie, once you joined him, you would improve rapidly. But if you cannot join him, you would only be able to admire the gains, as it was not for everyone. It was the same for the evil Soul Eater members. As they had a weak foundation, Jun Moxie's orders seemed a little too cruel. I don't care how you do it. Even if you are exhausted or dead, you must meet my orders. I don't want rubbish. Those who were Gold Xian had to reach Earth Xian by the time I returned from the Dongfang family. Those who were Jade Xian have to each Sky Xian. There was more than enough Xianyang and just hen pills. So long you can level up. You can eat as many as you want. However, you must meet my targets. Feng Wanyun came forward during this critical time and chose to endure through difficulties with the Jun family. There was no doubt that Jun Moxie's impression of him was very good. Naturally, he would not be stingy with his own people. After eating the pills, Feng Wanyun finally understood why Ying Bo Kong improved so quickly and was elated. At the same time, he decided, from now on I will stay with the Jun family and not let this old Ying ride on my head. On the other side, Jun Zhantian, Jun Wu Yi and the rest were with Hai Chen Feng, Song Shang, and Bailey Luo Yun. They practiced in pairs, experiencing to their heart's content. They understood their current speed and strength. It was natural that the Bailey Luo Yun was weaker amongst them, but this talent from the Bailey family had a unique understanding of the techniques which surprised Hai Chen Feng and the rest. Bailey Luo Yun's advancement was the fastest and his improvement was also the greatest. Ying Bo Kong, Feng Wanyun, Mei Shuiyan, King of Snakes Qian Sun and Jun Moxie were on another side and also focused on learning from one another. Young Master Jun's abilities improved shockingly fast, but there were still things he was unsure about how they happened, which was the exact opposite of other people. Mei Shuiyan, the martial arts expert, gave a suggestion: learning from one another. Lots of exchanging. An exchange between experts of supreme level and higher. On the first day, after everyone was allocated and started practicing, Feng Wanyun and Ying Bo Kong looked at Jun Moxie in curiosity. Feng Wanyun was exceptionally curious and asked, "This is where all those of supreme level or higher practice. What are you doing here?" Looking at this young lad, he seemed to be slightly condescending. Ying Bo Kong involved himself and said, "Old Feng, this is old Jun's house. Why don't you test him and give him some advice as a senior?" Feng Wanyun grudgingly walked out. As he was the weakest out of everyone there, this chores naturally had to be done by him. Just as they started to exchange moves, he was shocked. Jun Moxie's attack was unique, swift and majestic. Furthermore, what made Feng Wanyun most shocked was, this lad was no weaker than him and even seemed better than him. How was this possible? Supreme Feng pulled out his sword in a moment of anger but was defeated by Jun Moxie. Ying Bo Kong was bewildered. Although he knew that Jun Moxie was good, he did not think he was this strong as he witnessed. While he was impressed, he naturally wanted to challenge him, and thus, young Master Jun and he exchanged 500 moves with no determination of the winner. The King of Snakes, Qian Sun, also had a battle with young Master Jun, and it ended with a draw as well. Finally, Mei Yanxue personally acted, and under the situation that Jun Moxie did not use the yin-yang escape, she finally defeated him and kicked him a few more times while giving him some comments. This young lad don't need any more challenges. I don't know where you got your battle experience, which seems more than a several hundred years old expert. Could you be a born genius? After her old injury cleared up, Mei Yanxue's abilities advanced further and seemed to have taken a step higher. She had to exhaust her strength when dealing with young Master Jun, much less the rest, and so, based on her judgment, Jun Moxie's current abilities were definitely superior of Shi Chang Zhao's and no weaker than the ultimate supreme, Li Ju Tian. The five of them was as though they were taking turns to fight in an arena, and the host was Miss Mei Shuiyan. When she felt enthusiastic, she would take on the four of them such that they had a contented battle. In this time, Jun Moxie was figuring out something, then even used spiritual energy to see inside Ing Bo Kong and Feng Wanyun's diaphragm. He also looked into Mei Shuiyan's and finally sort of understood. Where is the basic difference between Supreme and Spirit Xian experts? Or the difference between the advancement of Xian energy in this world and the immortal level in Jun Moxie's mind? In Jun Moxie's diaphragm was just a small infant. Using immortality, it should be called the nascent soul period. In martial arts, there was such a saying. In the process of practicing martial arts, some people did not know about immortality but still reached this level. It was called forming an infant out of the world, and this was said to be the highest achievement in traditional martial arts learning. The only difference was that when traditional martial arts reached this step, the nascent soul needed to emerge out of its own heavenly spirit shell, leaving its physical body and become an untraceable spirit. However, immortal cultivation was the nascent soul using the diaphragm to provide it warmth to grow. It was very rare that anyone would let it go, as that was the cultivator's second life. However, in this world, Ing Bo Kong and the rest were different, as they did not practice the internal energy, especially not the dermic formula. Yet when they reach Ing Bo Kong's level, a matter similar to a gold pill will appear in his diaphragm. It is filled with extremely powerful energy. Such a realm should be the prelude to forming a nascent soul when the cultivator reaches the phase for the gold pill's breakthrough. As to Feng Wanyun's diaphragm, it was half solid, half mist, because his present cultivation was slightly weaker than Ing Bo Kong's. This world's pills were different as described by the historical records in the Hongyi Tower. It was not gold and shiny, but instead was a depressingly grayish-black matter. Analyzing from this point, although the Xian energy could not be said to be better than the internal energy of the previous world, they were about the same. As compared to human, Mei Yanxue's diaphragm had a snow-white Xian pill. The king of snakes, Qian Sun, too, but her Xian pill was green color instead. Regarding this, Jun Moxie was not too sure that even if Qian Sun was in the gold pill phase, was Mei Yanxue also in it? It was impossible. It was a pity that the king of bears and the king of tigers had left. If they were still around, he would have two more references. Mei Yanxue's reply answered his questions. Once mystical beasts reached above the 5th level, a Xian pill would be formed in its body, and usually half solid. Once it reached the 9th level, the Xian pill will completely solidify and officially become a pill. Any higher, the pill will become rounder and smoother, but its original shape would not change. Up till now, in Mei Yanxue's memory, the Xian pill left behind by the past generations of the kings of various beasts and sage kings in the Tian Fa forest were all smooth and round, just like an extremely rare luminous pearl. Amongst them, the biggest was like a Xian jade, crystal clear and could be seen through, luminous at night, and consisted of unbelievably strong energy. However, even Mei Shuayan was unsure what would happen when they reached the ultimate level. Jun Moxie analyzed it for a while but still was unsure and gave up looking. He did regret slightly as looking at all those people of supreme level or higher, and yet he did not investigate deeper. It was such a waste. Not mentioning this issue, Jun Moxie put all his focus back onto improving everyone's abilities. This special training lasted a total of 10 days. After 10 days, Jun Moxie wanted to officially set off for the Dongfang family to visit his mother. Dongfang Wenqing has sent a message. Old Madame Dongfang wished for Jun Moxie to visit the Dongfang family as soon as possible. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 574. Who's hunting who? What kind of devotion and hopelessness does she possess to behave like that? Dongfang Wenqing, Jun Moxie's mother. My mother. Jun Moxie contemplated deeply in his heart. Actually, he had anticipated this day. In his 2 lives, he had never experienced a mother's love. Jun Moxie deeply desired a mother's love. When he occasionally thought about this, he would feel a pang of pain in his heart. During the training, those 2 handicapped kids also joined the training. Jun Moxie handed every member in the Heavenly Destroyer and Soul Devourers teams a quenching pill. Naturally, he did not forget about the 2 of them. Moreover, he even imparted some abdominal language. Over the few days, they had made some improvements. Although they still weren't able to speak, they could utter some unclear sounds. The sounds sounded like the mumbling of a drunk person. It could be imagined that once they master the skills and go out to the society, it would definitely cause a great sensation to the whole world. 2 mutes were able to utter words without using their mouths. That would be spectacular. As he thought about this, Jun Moxie started to smile from ear to ear. But in the process, Jun Moxie also encountered something unexpected. Yi Guhan rejected Jun Moxie's pills. During this period of time, Yi Guhan had also been putting in the effort to train the 2 handicapped children in the sword. Whenever they had a question, he would do his best to explain, which led the 2 children to improve swiftly. In fact, the 2 kids improved so quickly that Jun Moxie was given a huge shock. Thus, he decided to help Yi Guhan with his recovery, which was a deed in exchange. One must know Yi Guhan was crippled and his dantian was damaged. Although Jun Moxie had tried his best to save him on that day, that treatment was limited. Up till now, Yi Guhan only managed to recover 30% of his power. But now, Jun Moxie's tremendous improvement in his power could help Yi Guhan recover completely. However, Yi Guhan actually rejected him. When he rejected, he was calm and made a request. If one day he was able to create a single-armed sword style, he hoped that Jun Moxie would help the 2 children to master it so that his legacy would continue to pass on. He did not need any formal master-disciple relationship. Jun Moxie thought about it sincerely and agreed. When Jun Moxie was about to leave, Yi Guhan uttered some solemn words. Young Master Jun, regardless of the hatred of the older generation, I hope that you would take care of Ling Meng. She is an innocent and kind girl. From those words, Jun Moxie understood why Yi Guhan did not want to accept his help to heal him. The enmity between the Jun and the royal family was common knowledge. In particular, the unreasonable deaths of a generation of brilliant heroes had shaken the world. From the looks of it, Yi Guhan had also known about the truth of this matter. After all, his own family would not disappear for no reason. He even deduced that Jun Moxie would eventually deal with the Tianqiang Emperor. But if that happens, Where could Murong Xiao go to? Now, Yi Gu Han was only hoping that he could pave a path for the people he cared for. One such person would be Princess Ling Meng, who had he seen grow up. If he were to accept more favors from Jun Moxie, then it would be harder for him to ask a favor in the future. And if this favor was incredibly significant, then he might not even be able to open his mouth. Hence, Yi Gu Han was willing to live the rest of his life handicapped and useless. This was also that he could open his mouth to speak those words for the people he cared for. Although this seemed like an exchange of favors, Yi Gu Han did not have anything that Jun Moxie required a favor for. Also, although this might not even be considered a favor, Yi Gu Han hoped that if Xiao and Ling Meng ever needed someone to depend upon, he could open his mouth to ask Jun Moxie for help. This was even if the chances were slim. Jun Moxie understood his intentions, but he did not make any promises. He could only leave silently. 10 days later, Jun Moxie had prepared and was all ready to go. This time, he only allowed one person to follow him, Mei Shuayan. Jun Moxie had packed and dressed lightly as he wanted to travel at full speed. Snake King Qian Sun had to stay in the Jun mansion. On one hand, he had to ensure the safety of the Jun family. At the same time, he was there in case Tian Fa came to deliver any pills. Solitary Falcon and Feng Wanyun also stayed at the Jun mansion to cultivate. During this time, Song Shang and Hai Chen Feng made huge improvements and their powers had reached the Spirit Xian level. Naturally, they were excited to add to their improvements, but they still fulfilled their promise. On the other hand, with the help of spiritual pills and the pressure of exchanging blows with Spirit Xian and Supreme experts, Bailey Luoyun finally broke through the Earth Xian bottleneck and entered the Sky Xian stage. Jun Moxie naturally kept his promises. He provided him with heavenly vitality pills, and he even gave him a vitality linkage pill and a vitality congregation pill for him to use after he entered the Spirit Xian stage. On the day that Jun Moxie left, Bailey Luoyun also left discreetly to temper himself in the Jianghu. Together with him were the two kids. Jun Moxie allows Bailey Luoyun to pick and nurture some assassins. However, after contemplating for half a day, he couldn't find anyone. Just as he was about to give up, his eyes landed on those two fellas. He immediately decided that he was going to choose them. Thus, Jun Moxie cracked his brains and came up with two heroic names for the kids, Tian, Can and DK. Obviously, Jun Moxie was playing around with the names. He would never have imagined that many years in the future, the names Tian, Can and DK would resonate throughout the entire continent. Many years later, these names would become the names of taboo in the entire assassin world. Somewhere in Tianqiang City, the three holy cities had been gathered for more than half a month. Xi Jinghong and company felt their asses turning numb from all the sitting. They all felt dispirited. This was because this set of news came 7 days ago, on a certain day of a certain month. Fantasy Blood Sea's three supreme experts encountered the Tiger King and Bear King at Wufu County. The two sides engaged in battle. The three supreme experts fell in battle while the Bear King and Tiger King walked away without any losses. According to their trajectory, they should have already arrived at Tian Fa Forest. When he heard this news, Xi Jinghong fiercely slammed the table in front of him into dust. He and his men had been waiting here for nothing. Those fellas had escaped from right under his eyelids. Moreover, he even lost 3 supreme experts. All this time, they were discussing their course of action. What a joke. The 3 holy cities had thoroughly lost their reputation. A few days passed before another set of news arrived. Jun Moxie and Mei Shuayan had packed lightly and were heading towards the Dongfang family. Zi Jinghong was instantly enlivened. He hollered loudly, "Everyone, head out. This is our rare chance to get rid of Supreme Mei." As the three holy cities were rallying their troops, Jun Moxie and Mei Shuayan had already left Tianqiang City. Everyone could rest assured with their departure. After all, the two of them were high-leveled experts. Moreover, their escape techniques were peak grade. Before Jun Moxie came back, Mei Shuayan's speed was undoubtedly the number one in the world. But after Jun Moxie returned, the two of them were roughly on par. Of course, this was if Jun Moxie didn't use the hack-like yin-yang escape. Thus, if there was someone that was too strong for them to defeat, they would still be able to escape. The two of them chose to pack lightly. However, they didn't do this so that they could escape. Instead, it was for them to counterattack. They would counterattack with their sharpest and most incisive attack. The three holy cities would definitely have to pay for what they have done. Otherwise, the two of them would never be able to swallow it down. On this road, who was hunting who? At this point, no one really knows. The time the two left was just as the sun had risen. This caused Mei Shuayan to be slightly confused. Moxie, if we left at night, it would definitely be more advantageous for the two of us. Why did we embark in the day? When there was no one else around them, Mei Shuayan finally let down her reservations and called Jun Moxie by his name. Every time she said this name, her heart would flutter slightly. "Oh you. Why are you so naive? Those fellas from the three holy cities aren't fools. If we are too near to Tianqiang City, they definitely wouldn't act against us. This is because the killing intent and the ripples from the attack would attract the attention of my master. This is what they are afraid of." As Jun Moxie said this, Mei Shuayan's mouth twitched slightly. However, Jun Moxie didn't notice it. Thus, within the first 300 miles, they definitely wouldn't make a move. If they were more conservative, they would wait till we are 500 miles out. Jun Moxie said confidently. The journey of 500 miles would require 1.5 days. Moreover, to deal with you, they would need to pick a terrain that they were extremely confident of. Thus, I predict that the first wave of attacks would come tomorrow night. Mei Shuayan scolded herself. She had truly forgotten about Jun Moxie's master. She could roughly guess that there wasn't such a person. But the three holy cities did not know that. Moreover, Jun Moxie's master was someone that they had to be careful of. That's true. Mei Shuayan nodded her head. This time, what should we do this time? That would depend on how they come at us. Jun Moxie harumphed. Don't look at how brotherly the three holy cities seem. In actual fact, they would rather let the others attack and send themselves to their deaths first while they come second and have an easier time. They would probably come separately. If they were to come together, they would definitely have a conflict. Ha! Shuayan, that xian pill in your belly is very valuable. Everyone wants it. Jun Moxie grinned and glanced at Mei Shuayan's belly. A stream of saliva flowed out the corner of his mouth. Tian, can and DK mean incomplete heaven and lacking earth respectively. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 575. Assigning Duties. Mei Yan Shui did not know to laugh or cry and said, "Greed is a sin and humans' greed is unlimited." Just like how in Tian Fa Forest, There are hundreds of Xian cores left behind by our ancestors. But yet, for tens of thousands of years, not a single mystical beast has thought of stealing them. We must know that we were of the same origins. But you, humans, have much fewer restrictions when it comes to absorbing Xian cores. Sigh. Why are humans so greedy and always want to reap the rewards without working for them? Mystical beasts' entire lives' essence are all in a Xian core, but no matter how much you, humans, try to absorb it, at most half or even less will be absorbed. Why treat this as a shortcut to become an immortal? Jun Moxie said seriously. What you said is right but also wrong. As you said, humans are greedy, and so even if they can only absorb 1/2, 1/10, or even 1/100th of the energy, there will still be people who do it. In fact, even if they cannot absorb a single bit of that energy, they would sell it for money. So you should stop your wrong ideas or you will put Tianfa in trouble. Mei Yanxue stayed silent, but a bolt of hatred flashed through her eyes. Jun Moxie laughed and changed the topic. Just now I calculated the possibility of an attack from the 3 Holy Lands. I think for now we only need to consider which family will be the primary attacker tomorrow night. I think it will be elusive Land of Immortals. Mei Yanxue said confidently. Zi Jinghong and Xiao Wei Cheng are meticulous. They definitely will not be willing to take the risk first. However, they will definitely hide nearby, ready to take advantage of the situation. Jun Moxie snickered and said cynically, after we cross the mountain entrance in front, there will be a lot of mountainous roads. Up till now, the next few days of heavy snow will make it difficult to travel on them. Within these mountainous roads, there definitely will be some action. It will pay off to move faster so the 3 Holy Lands people awaiting death will not have to wait too long. Mei Shuayan could not help but laughed and agreed. The two of them snickered, sat on their horses and hissed at the horse, then they galloped away, leaving behind only dusty snow. Behind them on Tianqing City's city gate, Zi Jinghong's gaze turned hazy as he watched the 2 horses sprint away and slowly revealed her desire to kill. The action location must not be too close to Tianqiang City in case it lures out that old monster again, which will make us awkward. The journey was not in Tianqiang City and did not have any Jun family members around, so he may not set a trap. Brother Zi, where do you think we should take action at? Xiao Wei Cheng said as he stepped on the thick coat of snow on the ground, but yet did not make any sound as he floated to Zi Jinghong. Following behind him was Ning Wuqing, the last-minute leader of elusive Land of Immortals' people. 200 miles in this direction from Tianqiang City will lead us to the mountainous roads. Furthermore, it is half a month worth of mountainous roads. In such strong snow, they won't be moving fast, so we don't need to rush. Zi Jinghong said evilly. However, Venerable Mei is known for her speed being the top in the world. It will be easy for her to escape, so we need to choose a good geographic location. Yes, we need to consider this carefully, but if the geographic location is unfavorable to Venerable Mei, then it will also be unfavorable to us. Ning Wuqing said seriously. One-on-one, none of us here have a chance against Venerable Mei. So we need to carefully think through our soldier arrangement. If we could injure her from just the first move, then just based on our huge number of people, we can use speed to tire her out. Zi Jinghong said, stroking his long beard, then said, but how easy it is to injure Venerable Mei. It would be impossible without sacrificing a few lives. The current Venerable Mei is no longer the old childish her. I'm afraid that to be able to touch her, it is going to be as extremely dangerous. Speaking of this problem, all 3 of them quietened. None of them was willing to be the first, as it was sure that they would be defeated. Let's pick lots then and leave it to fate. Our 3 groups can act separately. Zi Jinghong said. The first group will choose the geographic location to launch the attack, regardless of success or failure. The second group nearby will prepare to surprise them and kill. The third group will stake out at a road they have to pass by and prepare for the second surprise attack. By rotating, even if we cannot succeed by the time they reach the third group, within that time the first group must do their best to reach the next attack point. That is for the third surprise attack. We will keep doing this until we kill Venerable Mei. Great plan. Ning Wuqing and Xiao Weicheng simultaneously praised and clapped. The three of them no longer had other opinions and settled on this. In front of the two of them, Zi Jinghong wrote on 3 slips of paper and crushed them into 3 small balls in his palm. Looking at the two of them, he sternly said, "Although picking lots may seem childish, this issue is no joking matter. The first one picked will be in greater danger, so all 3 of us have to be prepared and stay united. For fairness, since I wrote on the papers, someone else shall give it out." The two of them were satisfied with how Zi Jinghong handled this. This way, there was no way cheating could happen and they could only rely on their individual luck. Even if they become the first group, there would be no objections. Ning Wuqing smiled. "Well said, Brother Zi. Let's lay everything out first so we'll stay united." Since Brother Zi wrote, then I shall distribute them. Brother Xiao, please choose one first. Brother Zi picks one and I will have the last one. The three of them looked at each other and suddenly laughed and said, "This is indeed the fairest method. Let's see who has the best luck and be the first one to lead us to success." After they spoke, Ning Wuqing reached for the small paper balls from Zi Jinghong's hands and messed them up, then placed them on the table. The three of them reached out in order to take a paper ball each. When Xiao Weicheng picked his paper, he looked at Zi Jinghong's expression as, after all, only he had not come in contact with the small paper balls, but he saw Zi Jinghong smiled. Xiao Weicheng immediately felt relieved as he recalled what the other two said a while ago and could not help but look at Ning Wuqing sympathetically as he held his smile in and opened his paper ball. However, once he opened it and took a look, Xiao Weicheng started choking and his entire face turned flush as though he ate a burning piece of charcoal. Ning Wuqing and Zi Jinghong opened their respective paper balls, took a look and smiled at each other. Ning Wuqing said, "I am the second group." Zi Jinghong smiled widely and relaxingly said, "I think I will not have the chance to contribute this time as I'm third. I am sure that before they reach me, the two of you will already achieve success and secure the credit." The two of them cupped fists and said heavy-heartedly, "Brother Xiao, we shall leave the extremely challenging task of the first attack to your great golden city. We hope that you will succeed on your first attempt and eradicate this scourge. We are already so envious just by thinking how you will be able to possess Venerable Mei's top-notch Xian core." Xiao Weicheng was feeling bitter and could not bring himself to say anything. The slip of paper in his hands clearly wrote first group. Xiao Weicheng slowly lifted his head and stared hard at Zi Jinghong while smiling coldly and said sarcastically, "Brother Zi, what a great move." Xiao Weicheng was extremely upset. He and Zi Jinghong were just discussing how to make elusive land of immortals be the first group such that he, an illusory ocean of blood, could stand aside and reap the benefits. Who knew that in a blink of an eye, he would be forced to be on the front line? No further explanation was needed to explain the situation. Zi Jinghong definitely sold him out. There was no way that anyone could convince Xiao Weicheng that there was no cheating involved in this lot picking. "Don't say that, Brother Zi. All of us are doing this for the Holy Lands and for the greater good of the world. With greater responsibilities, we will be able to go further by helping one another," Zi Jinghong said seriously and with conviction. He was actually secretly happy, I can finally relax. He even wanted to sabotage elusive land of immortals. Ning Wuqing is so scheming, but now, he is so suspicious of us. The past few days when we spoke, Ning Wuqing already grew suspicious. If he picked the lot, he may get angry on the spot, so for him to give it out was the best way. Furthermore, the elusive land of immortals had already lost top expert Yue Ban, who died. Us, illusory ocean of blood, also lost Huang Taiyang. Only Great Golden City's top fighters are all intact, yet you still want to retain all of them? Dream on. Ning Wuqing laughed and said, based on the current situation, Great Golden City is the strongest. I believe they will be able to take down Venerable Mei within the first attack. This won't be surprising. This way, Brother Xiao will definitely make a name for himself. Such great credit and that top-notch Xian core are making me jealous. Xiao Wei Cheng snickered and said, Brother Ning, are you really so jealous? Shall we swap? No. No. For such an important task, one will need a good opportunity and, more importantly, exceptional abilities. Elusive Land of Immortals is too weak now and is without a leader. If we go, it will be sending us to death. It is still the most appropriate for Brother Zhao's soldiers to go and complete the task in just one battle. Ning Wuqing was shocked and quickly declined. Brother Xiao, we agreed upon laying everything out first just now. The lot picking was fair and square. Under everyone's eyes. Even if I cheated, Brother Ning allocated it and you were the first to pick. What are you trying to do by speaking so sarcastically? Zi Jinghong said as a matter of fact. If I, Zi Jinghong, chose the lot for the first group, I will bravely take on the task. Regardless, I won't be so resentful. As Great Golden City's leader, Brother Xiao, it is surprising that you are so fearful. If you think it wasn't fair, shall we pick lots again? Not necessary. I, Xiao Wei Cheng, although is not some prominent figure, at least I know how to honor my words. Said Xiao Wei Cheng emotionlessly. Great Golden City will do our best in the first wave of attack. Brother Z, you don't need to worry. Let's stick to our responsibilities. May we meet again. Finishing what he said, Xiao Wei Cheng turned around and left. Zi Jinghong watched him leave seriously, then turned to Ning Wuqing, and the two of their eyes met and smiled. In the glistening white snow, by then, it was already the evening of the second day. In this cluster of mountains, two shadows rapidly flew past. It was Jun Moxie and Mei Shuayan. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 576. Bobsled and Tender Sentiments. Once they entered the forest, both of them felt as if they had returned home. They clearly felt more relaxed and comfortable. Mei Shuayan was originally a mystical beast, so being in a natural environment she felt more at ease and familiar with it. Moreover, she herself enjoyed the cold winter. Being in the forest, she was more than happy. But what surprised her was that Jun Moxie looked very satisfied and at ease as well. He was familiar with the various things in the forest, not losing out to her in terms of knowledge. For a young master that was brought up in an aristocratic family, it was astonishing. Jun Moxie looked at a tree nearby and suddenly stopped walking. Seeing how Mei Shuayan followed and stopped, Jun Moxie laughed. If we continue at this speed for the whole journey, for a short while, it would still be fine. But if we continue forcing ourselves to go at this speed, it would be a huge burden to our body. Even if we can actually handle it, it will not be pretty. Come, let me teach you an easier way. Jun Moxie withdrew his sword and slashed the trunk of the tree. From it, he further split it into 4 sharp-headed planks. The front of the plank was slightly sticking upwards. The size of it was similar to the size of their feet. He then peeled off the tree bark and used it as a rope, made 2 holes at both sides, insert the rope and tied the planks on both his feet. Mei Shuayan looked at him curiously, but couldn't understand what he was doing. Don't tell me that by putting the planks on, it will restore our energy? Jun Moxie chopped off another 2 branches that were slightly longer and gently moved his legs. With a push, he skied through the snow. Mei Shuayan gasped, eyes wide opened as she could not believe what she was seeing. With a branch in each hand, he pushed himself left and right and skillfully glided through the snow. It looked so effortless. Even when passing through areas that were covered with trees, he could nimbly ski through. He was so good at it that even when he was passing through those thick layers of snow, he could easily pass through it without stopping. Like fishes in the water, Jun Moxie was able to move around freely. In an instant, Jun Moxie ended his performance and stopped in front of Mei Shuayan. He waved the branches in his hands and grinned. Did you see? With the action of gliding and inertia force, we will not waste too much spiritual energy or even physical strength. By mastering and getting the hang of it, we will be able to glide through this snow ground easily. Mei Shuayan recovered from her shock and excitedly said, "Quickly teach me this useful trick." She eagerly followed Jun Moxie, tied the planks to her legs and got 2 long branches. Mei Shuayan put on her gears and stood up. But just as she was about to ski, she slipped and was about to fall. In a hurry, she used the branches in her hands to support herself. But she still could not find her balance. Startled, she immediately used her spiritual energy to support herself, but she could not find her center of gravity, hence she was still unbalanced. She had no choice but to lift herself up from the ground to find her balance. She then landed back down straight into the deep snow. Even though she did not fall, but as a person with supreme abilities and status, it was a huge embarrassment. Ha 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 ha. Jun Moxie, who was standing at the side, clutched his tummy and laughed. How did you do it? Tell me. Mei Shuayan was flustered. She stared fiercely at Jun Moxie, feeling humiliated. She saw how he skied so easily, but yet when she tried it on, it was so hard to manipulate the planks. What frustrated her, even more, was that instead of helping her, Jun Moxie stood by her side and laughed at her misfortune. Jun Moxie controlled his laughter with great difficulty and demonstrated to her, "Sister, how can you try to run when you can't even walk? Whatever skill you learn, there's a knowledge behind it. This little thing is called a bobsled, for a person like you with supreme abilities. You just need to understand the essence behind it and it will be very easy for you to master it. You need to find your center of gravity." Correct. Don't use too much of your energy or your strength, yes. Go along with inertia force, the branches are in your hands. You are not using it as a decoration. Use it to support yourself, you stupid girl. Jun Moxie was making a big fuss. Mei Shuayan felt enraged, and just as she lost her concentration, she lost her balance, slipped and fell hard on her butt. She slammed her hands onto the ground out of frustration and the snow splattered everywhere. Jun Moxie skied to her immediately and helped her up while dusting the snow off her. He asked her with concern, "Why are you so careless? Does it hurt? Did you injure yourself?" Mei Shuayan felt bashful. As an expert with tip-top skills, she actually lost to a little bobsled. Luckily there wasn't anyone nearby. If not, she would be embarrassed to death. But hearing Jun Moxie's concerned voice, she actually felt happy about it. Mei Shuayan rolled her eyes and furrowed her brows. With a worried face, Jun Moxie said, "Do not fall till you injure yourself." While speaking, his hands secretly went up to her butt and he gently rubbed it. While feeling balmy, he asked with concern, "Does it hurt here? Why don't you take your clothes off? I will help you rub it." "Ouch, oh my God, it hurts. You're killing your husband." Just as he was making use of his concern to take advantage of her, Mei Shuayan detected his immoral behavior and fling him off harshly. Jun Moxie, who was enjoying himself at the moment, let down his defense and fell into the ground brutally. Luckily, the ground was covered with snow. If not, he would be severely injured. Mei Shuayan blushed and glared at him. "You lecher. If you want to die, tell me." Jun Moxie yelled, feeling wronged. "How am I a lecher? I'm just showing concern for you. Why can't you recognize my good intention? If there's a bruise, it wouldn't be pretty anymore. I'm not sure if your butt is bruised, but mine definitely is now. Why don't you help me take a look at it? Whether it's pretty or not, it's none of your concern." Mei Shuayan blurted out angrily. Only after saying it, that she realized that it did not even matter if her butt was pretty or not. Besides, nobody would be looking at it. That fellow just have bad intentions. How can I casually let him see my bit? Thinking about it angered her even more. Heaven and earth. Jun Moxie was taken aback. He immediately jumped up like a cannon shot, hugged her and covered her mouth with a kiss. By doing so, he stopped her from saying, "Prison cage." Mei Shuayan suffered a surprise attack and got mad. She wanted to excoriate him, but her lips were fully covered by Jun Moxie and she could not muster enough strength to push him away. She panicked and slipped, falling onto the ground, only to feel another body crushing her. She was baffled and angry at the same time. Just as she was about to speak, his tongue sneakily entered her mouth. In a split second, she became lost and her body went soft. Her soul fluttered away in the wind. Jun Moxie did not expect his sneak attack to be a huge success and was overjoyed. He could not be bothered by the cold snow under him and his hands wandered around her body. Mei Shuayan struggled for a while, but finally gave up with a sigh. Bestard. She silently closed her eyes and let him do whatever he wanted to. Even though they were both separated by clothes, she could still feel the warmth from his hands and it tickled her heart. After a long time, Jun Moxie finally decided to lift his head and silently looked at the beauty in front of him. Mei Shuayan's chest was rapidly moving up and down as she gasped for air. Her eyes seemed intoxicated. Her face flushed as she panted delicately. Her entire body portrayed an indolent beauty. Even though she had supreme cultivation, but facing his fiery passion, it seems that all her spiritual abilities became useless. At that moment, Jun Moxie felt his heart soften. He gently lowered his head and pressed his lips against her forehead, and slowly moved down towards her eyes. Pointy nose, cheeks, corner of her lips and finally her red lips. The world's greatest temptation. Even Buddha could not resist. How could Master Jun, who was not even a gentleman, resist? Feeling the delicate kiss, Mei Shuayan shivered, closed her eyes tightly and freeze, only to feel passionate currents flowing through her body. Her body suddenly got hotter and she held out her hand to embrace Jun Moxie's neck. A sweet approach. Without knowing how much time had passed, an ear-piercing cry suddenly sounded which startled both of them. They stared at each other, noticing the tender sentiments in the eyes. They then suddenly realized that the sky had already turned dark. Jun Xie smiled gently as he helped Mei Shuayan up. Mei Shuayan shyly cuddled in his arms. Feeling weak, deep in her heart, she felt a sense of belonging and was contented with the happiness that she was feeling. All of a sudden, she felt that the dark skies, the snowy ground, the birds that were flying in the sky and the surrounding trees were all particularly pleasing to the eyes. At this moment, Mei Shuayan was no longer the powerful honored supreme that roamed the country but a little woman that's lying in the embrace of her beloved, enjoying the sweet love given to her, a normal woman. Just this simple. Both of them did not utter a single word. There was no need to speak further. With just a simple glance, they could understand each other. Jun Moxie kept a gentle smile on his face the whole time he was teaching her. He slowly and understandingly coached her to ski, passing down all his knowledge to her. On the other hand, Mei Shuayan kept on an intoxicated smile while she joyfully learnt from him. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 577. Tricks don't work? Use force then. While one of them tried his best to teach, the other did her best to learn. Within just a short period of time, Mei Shuayan's improvement was extremely huge. As a top expert, her extreme comprehensive skills were very useful now. She only needed to practice any movements once and she'll master their essence. Furthermore, sledding was easy to pick up, especially for experts like Mei Shuayan, whose body was way more flexible than normal people, light and have the assistance of their ability to take flight. In a few days, it would not be surprising if she surpassed Jun Moxie. However, even when Mei Shuayan have learnt the movements, she pretended to have not and flightily request for Jun Moxie to teach her once more, just like a young lady flirting with her lover. Jun Moxie did not expose her and so the two of them happily stayed engrossed in the process. In the wild, suddenly felt like it was springtime. Even the piercing cold winter winds seemed to have become friendlier. Their shadows intertwined in the woods back and forth until night fell and two shooting stars skid across the night sky, leaving delicate trails behind them, shuttling between the mountains and woods. Mei Shuayan finally mastered all the techniques of skiing. Like a child with a new toy, she tirelessly wanted Jun Moxie to practice with her cheerfully. Night had fallen and Jun Moxie chose a slightly risky canyon, with a height of around 400 to 500 feet tall, which was piled with snow and looked like a flat plain. Once normal people fell into it, it was likely they would die, but to Jun Moxie and Mei Shuayan, it was not threatening at all. Instead, they excitedly jumped in. Within the layers of snow, Jun Moxie used his spiritual abilities. Using his palm to quietly press against the surrounding snow, he compressed the snow which hardened, gradually making a secluded space which was the size of 2 rooms. Although it was extremely cold outside, it was surprisingly warm in this room, made from snow walls, which was several tens of feet from the top of the canyon. It was a self-made room which appeared from nothing. The two of their Xian abilities were strong and supposedly need not worry about breathing problems, but Jun Moxie still picked some long bamboo from the woods, connected them together, used his spiritual energy to open up the joints, then pierced one end through the snow to get fresh air in the snow. Although it was still a bit stuffy, it was much better than before. Mei Shuayan was surprised to see Jun Moxie's masterpiece and could not help but praised him. After so many years, I have not thought that I could do this when it is snowing, just using your 2 hands. You made such a house. What a great way to save energy, and it is so interesting. Nothing in this world is impossible. It's just whether you can think of it. As she spoke, she looked at Jun Moxie with her bright big eyes and said slightly demandingly, "But, Young Master Jun, are you letting me sleep on this snow pile? No way. Even if you don't mind, my heart will ache. Jun Moxie said confidently with a serious expression. Then, what should we do? Mei Shui looked at the both of them. She brought a small bag out, but Jun Moxie left empty-handed without even bringing his sword, much less a blanket. Cavemen have their ways. Jun Moxie said secretively, then smiled proudly, stretched his hands out and acted weirdly before raising his voice. Appear. Immediately, 2 huge white bear coats appeared in his hands. Jun Moxie proudly lifted his eyebrows. How's this? Isn't this the bear skin coats that idiot Xiong Kai Shan bought? How did they end up with you? Mei Shui could not help but got angry, yet laughed at the mention of Xiong Kai Shan buying the bear skin coats. Who knew what he was thinking that day? As the king of bears, he actually bought bear skin coats. About this, Jun Moxie really admired the sales tactic used by the shop. A sales genius. A top salesman perfect for expanding the target market. This is thanks to you, as after that old bear was scolded by you, he did not dare to take them with him, so it benefited me. Look at this quality. Definitely top grade. Jun Moxie laughed happily as he took advantage of the situation and benefited himself. Mei Shui Yan was displeased and sarcastically said, "What a minute. I don't understand. That splurging old bear spent the money you gave him. You seem as though you gained a lot. What kind of logic is that?" Jun Moxie confidently replied, "It is your logic that has a problem. You see, it is just like I often take snake stew from Qian Sun, that little girl. In this world, who can eat snake stew bestowed by the Snake King? Who can wear bear skin coats personally bought by the Bear King? Just based on this, I'm the only one. I'm proud of it." Mei Shui Yan broke out in laughter. It cannot be denied that this was a joke. Other than Xiong Kai Shan, this idiot whose brain was wrongly wired, the kings of other animals really would not do such things. Although Jun Moxie also got snakes from Qian Sun, they were the traps used by Qian Sun to kill him. The two situations were very different. Indeed, it could be historical. He easily laid the coats on the solid snow, one for the ground, one as a blanket. Perfect. Jun Moxie courteously signaled, "Wifey, it is getting late. Please go to bed. You will definitely sleep well." "Oh. Only these 2 pieces. How about you?" Mei Shui Yan widened her eyes. "I'm all right. I can fight the cold. Just let me freeze. For you, I am willing to endure the cold. It is on me for not preparing sufficiently and only brought 2 coats. For your reputation, I am just fine." Jun Moxie's eyeballs fluttered as though he was repenting. It would be great if Mei Shui would say, "How about, let's squeeze a bit?" He would gladly oblige, but act as though he was not willing and say, "Let's squeeze then." Mei Shui Yan's hesitated for a while and regretfully said, "Since you are so magnanimous and thoughtful, you can freeze outside then." How could Mei Shui Yan not realize Jun Moxie's intentions? There was no way she would let him have his way. "What?" Beauty Mei's words shocked Jun Moxie, who stared in surprise as his jaw dropped. Mei Shui was not bothered and decided to remove her outer coat, revealing her curvy body shape underneath before quickly snuggling in between the 2 coats, enjoying the soft fur quality and warmth. She could not help but let out a sigh and said, "It's so warm." Jun Moxie was upset. How could it not be warm? After a while, Jun Moxie hugged his arms and started shivering and his teeth started chattering. making a sound. He stole a glance at Mei Shuayan, who had her eyes closed, probably asleep. Young Master Jun took a deep breath and decided. He suddenly started jogging around, stamping his foot on the ground while saying, "It's so cold. I'm freezing. Ugh, oh my god. My hands are frozen. My legs too, even my little brother is too. Someone save me. Give me some warmth and I will thank you for the rest of my life." Mei Shuayan turned a deaf ear to him and continued to produce snoring sounds. "Why are you so heartless?" Young Master Jun complained. Not mentioning others. When a man acts this way, the woman should shyly lift the blanket and ask, "Shall we squeeze?" Why is it that it doesn't happen for me? Seems like that line in the movies is made up. No. It's a joke. However, young Master Jun neglected that he should have thought, based on his current abilities, not just in a warm environment in the snow, he would be fine even if he was thrown into the Xian iceberg for a month. If Mei Shuayan could not tell that he was playing tricks, she would be too naive. In the snowy space, as time passed, a concentrated scent started to diffuse around. In the almost sealed space, Mei Shuayan's womanly body scent seemed extra refreshing. Jun Moxie took several deep breaths of it as his diaphragm was becoming more and more heated. He could not take advantage of her and yet made still himself even more flushed. The space was not cold and was in fact quite heated. Finally, young Master Jun was determined and took off his outer coat. Disregarding all else, he slipped in between the bare skin coats. However, when he just lifted the covers, Mei Shuayan suddenly opened her eyes and sternly asked, "What are you doing?" Jun Moxie stared dumbfoundedly as the hand holding the covers froze. He had been caught in the act. "Shuayan, you see, I am so cold. Please take pity on me. It is not easy to survive in the wild." Jun Moxie pleaded. Mei Shuayan snickered. "Not knowing to get angry or laugh, I can take pity on you, but that way, my chastity is stake. How dare you even ask?" She firmly said. "Why do you not seem cold to me? So no. Go stay in a corner. Before the night to consummate our marriage, I will not allow you to bypass my bottom line." Jun Moxie laughed and suddenly exerted some strength and bent his back, forcing his way into the covers. Mei Shuayan ragingly sat up and said, "You are really shameless. When your tricks don't work, you start using force? Do you believe that I can prison you in the heaven and earth prison for a night?" Jun Moxie shamelessly laughed. "Since you also know that my tricks don't work, then what should I do other than using force? If you can bear to lay your hands on me, then go ahead. I don't mind," he said as he subconsciously stretched his legs and satisfyingly said, "How nice." Mei Shuayan was speechless at this person's shamelessness and rogue behavior, so she stood up and said, "All right. Then you can sleep alone." Jun Moxie started to panic and hugged her waist, and smilingly said, "Actually, this bear coat is quite big, worthy of the king of bear. It will not be squeezy for the two of us at all. Since we are outside and with no other choice, just make do with it for tonight." Mei Shuayan was still considering, but Jun Moxie suddenly turned and attacked her suddenly. Mei Shuayan struggled, but her mouth was blocked. After a long while, Jun Moxie proudly lifted his head and spoke condescendingly. "Are you going to let me sleep?" Mei Shuayan blushed. Although she was slightly confused, she firmly shook her head. "I don't believe I can't defeat you." Jun Moxie leaned in further and asked again, "Yes or no?" No." Once more. After a pause, "Yes or no?" "I'll take your silence as consent." Anyways, that's what I have decided. Young Master Jun smiled proudly. No. No means no. Mei Shuayan was determined to not give in to his threats. She pouted in determination. I shall see how long you can persevere for. It seems like if I don't try something tougher, you will not give in. Jun Moxie evilly laughed, then suddenly blocked her lips again and sucked with all his might. This time, his two hands were put to use as they wandered about her body, passing through every curve, touching and rubbing, trying all means. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 578. Your thoughts are too dirty. Mei Shuayan felt her heart thumped and could no longer control herself as she let out a moan as this guy's hands suddenly went separate ways. One slipped under her clothing and grabbed her breast with nothing separating his hand from her skin, and the other hand slid down to firmly grab onto her perky buttocks. This felt much stronger than just now when he touched her through her clothes. Mei Shuayan's entire body weakened and started shivering under his touch. She wanted to use her core energy to counterattack, but for unknown reasons, not a single bit of her usually undefeatable core energy could be brought out. All she could feel was this guy's hands exploring her body, and her breathing quickened. She wanted to beg him to let her off, but her mouth was blocked by his. She wanted to push him away, but she realized that her arms had unconsciously wrapped themselves around his neck. His two large hands roaming around her delicate body made it burning hot. Although she was doing her best to resist, she still could not help but let out a shy moan. As Mei Shuayan was still a virgin, this was her first time experiencing the most tempting thing on earth. How could she not lose her senses? Jun Moxie's eyes were burning in ******** desire. He lifted his head and temporarily stopped invading her mouth while his two hands continued to rub Mei Shuayan's breasts, and asked, "Can I?" Mei Shuayan's eyes were unfocused and her mouth slightly open as she breathed heavily, unable to say anything and only shyly nodded. She stared at him intensely, but under such romantic circumstances, it seemed as though she was gently flirting with him. Jun Moxie was elated and took his two hands out, ready to remove his clothes and see her naked. However, Mei Shuayan escaped his embrace. Although she was still pressed beneath him, she strongly overcame her urges and gently said, "Not now. The three holy lands are still coming after us. If it will affect our strength and form." These words were like a bucket of cold water splashed at Jun Moxie, putting out his burning desires. Yes. It was a critical time as their lives remained threatened. If Mei Shuayan lost her virginity at this critical juncture, she would definitely be severely affected and may even get injured or. Jun Moxie was unwilling to see any of these. He let out a deep sigh and Jun Moxie's eyes suddenly brightened. He took a few deep breaths, grabbed some snow from the ground, and rubbed them on his face. He felt refreshed from the coolness and shivered a bit. Finally, he was awake. Jun Moxie was relieved inside and smiled as he teased her. "Hey, your thoughts are not pure. I was only referring to sleeping, not doing anything else. What were you thinking of? Wow, why do you think of such things? I am so surprised." Mei Shuayan was fuming and pointed at Jun Moxie so angrily she could not say anything but, "You! What a lecher! You, how, you!" She almost vomited blood as it was you who forced yourself onto me and now you say my thoughts are dirty. Thinking about this, Mei Shuayan was embarrassed yet angry, wanting to fall out with him on the spot. Young Master Jun was frightened. Knowing he carried his joke too far, He quickly yet carefully said a bunch of good things, but Mei Shuayan continued to ignore him coldly. Young Master Jun wanted to try some gangster tactics but was heartlessly chased away. It seemed like if he used any more sneaky means, Beauty Mei will treat him to a holiday in the heaven and earth prison. After a while more, he heard Mei Shuayan coldly said, "Didn't you want to ambush the 3 Holy Lands people? Now that we are hiding here, how can we ambush them?" Jun Xie was relieved. Seems like this girl is not really angry. He pulled himself together and said, "At this time, they must still be looking for a suitable ambush location. Based on what I know, it is not far from us. There is a path along a valley with 2 tall mountains at its 2 sides, a calabash-shaped valley. The entry points are narrow with a wide space in the middle. If there are people guarding the entry points and are determined to annihilate the ambushed ones, no matter how powerful the ambushed ones are, it would be very difficult to escape unscathed. Especially since quite a big amount of snow have collected in the valley. Movements were hampered and the environment was disadvantageous. Hence, based on my gauge, no matter who they send first, they would pick that spot." Was there really no other better way out? Mei Shuayan also felt relieved as she did not have to haggle on that awkward topic with him, but she still remained expressionless as if Jun Xie owed her a large sum of money, the expression of a debtor. "We will definitely have to pass through that road." Jun Xie continued. "I am also contemplating how we can counter-ambush them. We had enough rest last night and tonight we are staying here. We've given them enough time to prepare. Unless they had no intention of dealing with you, by this time, the 3 Holy Lands would have been way ahead of us and completed their preparation. This wait was for both sides to create the perfect opportunity. If they don't cherish it, they must be too stupid." Mei Shuayan frowned. If it was so, she really could not think of any way to cross the road unless they did it forcefully. However, if they went in forcefully, they would have to pay a high price. No matter who attack, we will have to face a scary troop of at least 10 higher than supreme-level experts and 20 supremes. Suddenly a murderous look emerged on Jun Xie's face. With their abilities, if we forcefully take them on, whether or not intentionally, it was for sure that we would be defeated. So, at that time, you must listen to me. Don't act on your own accord, and more importantly, don't take risks. I know what I am doing and will ensure they suffer huge losses." Mei Shuayan acknowledged his words but worriedly asked, "Since you have the confidence, why didn't you choose to attack them in the night? With the help of the night sky, wouldn't it be easier?" Jun Xie laughed sneakily and said, "This is why you are an amateur. With so much snow covering the entire mountain, how different is our ability to see in the day and night? Don't forget, their skills are definitely nowhere beneath ours. Therefore, we don't have to only act at night. In fact, at night it might be worse for us. They will be warier at night. It will be tougher to attack them." "You are right." Mei Shuayan nodded quietly. The presenter had not realized at all that the tempo between the two of them had been controlled by Jun Xie. Also, she also unknowingly became more obedient in front of Jun Xie. Jun Xie suddenly burst out in laughter and said, "Furthermore, they are so afraid that we will just slip through them, so after finding such a location, won't they monitor it closely? The wind and snow are so harsh tonight. It will torment them quite a bit. That's good. We are giving them an opportunity to toughen up. Honestly, I want to stay here for a few more days then go over. It is quite comfortable here." Mei Shuayan finally could not hold her laughter and said, "You are so mean." "You? How is this being mean?" This is called being smart. Jun Moxie said arrogantly, every small decision can determine our victory. This is our tradition in the Jun family. Mei Shuayan giggled, smiling widely and forgetting the previous unhappiness. Beauty Mei had removed her coat and was only a tight-fitting off-white dress was covering her tall, slender body which shivered at the front of her chest along with her laughter. Jun Moxie stared at this sight and felt some movement in his nostrils as he almost spurted blood out of his nostrils. This seductress was taking his life. If she was extremely curvy, Jun Moxie probably would not be so attracted, but Mei Shuayan's body was tightly hugged and shivered only a little, which added some graceful and dreamy effects. This made Jun Moxie finding her even more irresistible. Mei Shuayan acutely realized his oddness and rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. His eyes were looking at her with lots of love as Jun Moxie's desires reached sky high, as though he became a wolf, ready to catch its prey. Shuayan, how about let's really let them wait for a few days? We can stay in here. It won't be too late to wait till you recover before we leave. Jun Moxie moved in closer sneakily, with saliva drooling out of his mouth, shamelessly trying to discuss the issue. Injury? What injury? I have recovered a long time ago. I am not injured. What are you talking about? Mei Shuayan found it weird and turned to look at him in surprise. Jun Moxie smiled pervertedly and embarrassingly said, we only need to stay here for a few days and you will be injured. Instantly, she understood what he meant. Mei Shuayan blushed, feeling shy yet angry yet upset yet embarrassed. She was so angry she could do anything, and so she first shouted, you are dead. Heaven and earth prison. Then she used a leg and kicked him out of the bear-skin blanket. Scram. She did use all her strength. Jun Moxie groaned and crouched in pain like a cooked prawn. His butt faced her as the front guard while his head and legs almost touched as he flew out at lightning speed. He crashed into the snow walls, leaving a big, round hole of unknown depth, and disappeared into it. After a long time, Jun Moxie climbed out of the hole in pain, looking pale. Shuayan, your one kick left me 500 feet away. I'm a goner. Now I have sprained my back, injured my organs, with such serious injury. I can treat others, but now I can't treat myself, but if you are willing to lend a helping hand, all will be good. If you are willing to try the double body method with me, I will recover very quickly. Double body method, your head. Heaven and earth prison. Mei Shuayan was still angry and her face was reddened with anger. Without further thought, she kicked him again. Before Jun Moxie could beg for forgiveness, he was already sent flying away and disappeared into the hole once more. The next morning, Jun Moxie climbed out of the hole with panda eyes, panting. Although he was protecting a great beauty and only the two of them were in the small room, nothing happened. Furthermore, he was beaten up, not only once. This was torture. He was not only suffering from holding in his desires, but he was also doubly injured, physically and mentally. Jun Moxie swore. After this ended and finished dealing with the three Holy Lands attack, if there was any opportunity, he will definitely immediately take down this girl. No way he would be appeased. As he was thinking how to let out his anger, he decided to let it out on the Supremes of the three Holy Lands first. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 579. Torture all of you to death. Bottle gourd entrance. This was a very unique topographic entrance. Just like what Jun Moxie said, the two sides of the cliff are erected towards the clouds while the middle had a depression. Both ends were very narrow, only allowing 3 people to squeeze through side by side. The snow had accumulated between the canyon. The blizzard had continued for the past few days and the strong wind had never stopped. The snow covered most of the canyon and it was at least 10 feet deep. At the entrance, Xiao Wei Cheng and a few other experts that were wearing white gowns silently lean against a huge stone as they scan the road. Xiao Wangzhua, we have already waited for an entire day and night. Why have they not arrived yet? Have they passed us already? An old man with white hair and a beard that looked like a rat tail asked seriously. Definitely not. That adulterous couple had been flirting and sweet-talking with each other for the whole journey. How can they walk so fast? Who knows? They might be hiding in some place enjoying themselves. Another vulgar Chinese man with beard mocked. Yeah. Brother Lu. They are living an unconventional and happy lifestyle and you seem to envy them. Don't tell me, you have immoral feelings for Venerable Mei? A guy suddenly popped out from the snow and exclaimed. HNGH. I just despise their indecent acts. They have offended social decency and have no ethics. They are a disgrace to the people and the world. The vulgar Chinese man turned red as he tried to defend himself. Stop trying to explain yourself. Your eyes lighted up when you saw her. We are all men here, who all can tell that you are just jealous of them. As a supreme master, you don't even have the courage to admit? Another man snorted, Brother Lu. Should we help you to create a chance with her? But you need to be careful. If you die on top of Venerable Mei's belly, you will be famous. Nonsense, the vulgar man glared and muttered, I can last for very long. The crowd laughed. When discussing this topic, men will never back down. It did not matter if they were supremes or commoners. Suddenly, Xiao Wei Cheng said in a low voice, Get ready everyone. They are here. Everyone gathered and rose up with spirit. A thread of nervousness spread through the air. Even though they were joking about her previously but towards Venerable Mei, they fear and respect her. She could easily decide whether to let them live or die. If they were not cautious enough, they might die under her hands. Everyone stared at the oncoming figure only to be stunned. From a distance, they saw a woman walking towards them leisurely, as if she was on a holiday. But only one figure. How can it only be one person? Where's the other one? Where did Jun Moxie go? Instantly, everyone started feeling puzzled. But it's better this way since the only person that they really wanted to kill was Mei Shuayan. Without Jun Moxie, they had one less concern. They do not have to worry that they might accidentally injure Jun Moxie, causing the old freak to rage. But since Mei Shuayan had arrived, where did Jun Moxie go? The night was getting darker and colder and the wind was getting stronger. As the wind passes through the narrow gap between the canyon, it created an eerie mournful sound. It was as if the ghosts in hell were howling. Snowflakes swirled up from the ground forming hazy fogs, completely blocking everyone's sight. Luckily, the fog only lasted for a moment and slowly faded away. But the next moment, it started to snow. Xiao Wei Cheng was a master beyond supreme level, with a powerful aura. But at that moment, he felt so nervous that the muscles in his body were cramping up. He held his breath as he gazed at the oncoming figure strolling towards him. She walked towards them seductively just like a leopard that was about to pounce on its prey. The people behind him felt more anxious as they waited in silence. This fight definitely would be a terrifying one. Once Venerable Mei entered the canyon, what awaited her would be death. As a master beyond supreme level, if she knew that death was coming upon her, She would burst out an incredible amount of energy, and everyone was well aware of that. Even though this time, Golden City had dispatched 10 masters beyond supreme level, 20 supreme masters, which were a total of 30 experts. But to really kill Mei Shuayan, they would still have to sacrifice half of their men, and that was if they are lucky. They might even have to sacrifice 20 men and more to die with her. Even those lucky few that survived might not be able to retreat in one piece. Deaths were bound to happen. A master among the supreme masters. Even the 3 holy lands are only on par with Venerable Mei. There may be some that had cultivations higher than her, but it's only by a little. Furthermore, Mei Shuayan possessed a terrifying speed that no one could win against. If they did not manage to inflict serious damage on her on the first attack, which will happen when she enters the canyon, when she comes around to attack, that would be the start to their catastrophe. The wind became wilder and the snow became heavier. The ground that appeared to be calm actually contained loads of murderous intention. There were no signs at all that within the canyon hid 30 supreme masters. As Mei Shuayan continued walking towards the canyon, the atmosphere within it became heavier. Suddenly, Mei Shuayan appeared to have sensed something and immediately stopped walking. With her beautiful eyes, she scanned across the canyon. Even though the masters knew that she could not see them, their hearts still cramped unconditionally. They quickly calmed their escaping souls and halted their breath. Like zombies, they hid under the snowy ground. As a master among supreme masters, she had very strong intuition. Facing unknown danger, she would become more sensitive. If she had actually sensed something, their whole plan would be ruined. Suddenly, Mei Shuayan floated into the air and her graceful body was more than 10 feet from the ground. With a few gentle kicks from her slender feet, she rose another 10 feet higher. She did a beautiful turn and a few more kicks before flying higher in the air. Everyone who saw this scene uncontrollably gasped a cold air. Is this the ability to take flight? They had never seen or even heard of this ability before. It was something that only the master of all could accomplish. Mei Shuayan slowly scanned through the canyon in midair, looking through whatever that was within 10 miles. She lightly landed on the ground with a slow turn. She was like a goddess descending from heaven, moving everyone's heart. She apparently did not find out anything as she relaxed her cautious attitude. She turned back and took a look before heading towards the canyon once again. She's here. She's finally here. She was slowly nearing the entrance of the canyon and was just 8 feet away. Passing these 8 feet and she will be entering the gates of hell. Seeing how Mei Shuayan still had no idea of what was going, they wondered if her intuition had lost its effectiveness. Mei Shuayan continued with light steps and elegantly walked towards the canyon. She even occasionally reached out her hand to brush the snow off her temples. She seemed to have totally let down her guard. Mei Shuayan sighed and turned back again to take a look, as if she was waiting for someone. She walked a few more steps and suddenly stopped. She stood in the middle of the road without moving. The supreme masters from the Golden City were so agitated that their blood vessels were about to explode. But Mei Shuayan continued to stand in the middle of the road without moving. Come in. Faster, come in. You should faster come in. Why are you still not coming in? Everyone was shouting in their heart. Extremely devoted. Oh my God. It's just a few more steps. Why did you stop? This is testing our mental stability. The distance between them was neither short or long. It was an awkward distance. If anyone in the canyon were to take a deep breath, Mei Shuayan would have discovered them. In fact, if their heart were to beat any harder, Mei Shuayan would find out. For now, Mei Shuayan was still standing outside the canyon. If she discovered something was not right, she could immediately escape. With her speed, even if everyone were to attack at the same time, at most they could only eat the dust behind her. The situation was like a bow that was fully pulled back. With an ignorant attitude, Mei Shuayan unconsciously pulled the bow far back but suddenly stopped. She did not exert any more strength, but she did not release the arrow either, she just stopped right there. And the arrow represented the 30 Supreme Masters from Golden City. They awkwardly waited in their position, not daring to move a single bit. Finally, Mei Shuayan took a step forward and everyone relaxed for a while. But just as she was about to enter the canyon, Mei Shuayan leapt up and gently sat on a branch of a pine tree. Her two slender legs dangled above as she looked upon the path that she came from. She had totally stopped moving forward. Shit! The 30 men scolded in their hearts simultaneously. What is this? Is she playing with us? If you want to come over, you should come over quickly. If you want to leave, then leave quickly. Putting us in such a stressful situation. What is this? If Jun Moxie knew what they were thinking, he would cry and said, "Brothers, you have finally understood the pain that I've been through these past few days. This woman is an expert in messing with people. Even people like us with strong mental health will go mad under her hands. The arrow is on the bow, but cannot be released. It is such a torture. You guys are not the only ones suffering. I had to hold it until my stomach ached." But Jun Moxie was not here. Master Jun was planning his first assassination. Please subscribe to this channel so that we are more enthusiastic in providing the best video for you. Chapter 580. Kill the Supreme. Xie Jun's most feared assassination method has finally been revealed. The strongest of the alternate world have also finally realized the power of Xie Jun. Jun Moxie's capability now have long surpassed the old Xie Jun's ability when he was at his peak. However, what he needed to face was the alternate world's strongest master. Moreover, he had to face not only one or two, but a total of 30 of them. He seemed like an invisible wind, drifting through the sky. However, he also seemed like a visible cloud sliding down. He also seemed like a snowflake that was crystal clear and silent, more like a Huang Quan ghost that wandered around in the dark. His body walked through underneath and his whole body began to converge. Hua Xie Jun. The peerless god in his hand quietly walked with him, emitting a cold glow. Blood of Yan Huang. There was a slow and low pulse sound coming from above. The sound seemed like it was coming from outside, but it was clearly audible. This was the target that Jun Moxie was looking for. This was because these Supreme Masters already covered all of the pores on their body. Their smell was concealed. And even all of their thoughts were stopped. As for the turmoil of Xianli, it was concealed, leaving no traces. The only thing left for Jun Moxie was the pulse that beat only once in a while. Moreover, this pulse could only be felt when the Supreme Masters laid their body flat on the ground. If their bodies left the ground for a moment, the traces of the pulse would disappear, but because of Mei Shuayan's power, they did not dare to move. Jun Moxie arrived without a sound. He was counting in his heart, 1, 2, 3. The formation of the Supreme Gold City was strict. Each group was made up of 3 finished characters, and this was the best triangle formation possible. The strict formation made it difficult for Jun Moxie to carry out his assassination plan. Jun Moxie quietly began to form his body shape. After thinking for a while, his eyes glittered and he closed his eyes with his mouth grinning and getting into a cruel position. He had made up his mind on his action plan. The peerless god on his hands suddenly became a dull wood. Even the stalks disappeared without a trace. Jun Moxie came to the three-person formation, and in the darkness, he stabbed them without any warning and hesitation. Stab. It seemed as if a black lighting came from bottom to up and it rushed towards its target. This stab was a sword that could have caused death. However, it did not have any power. There was no feeling of pain. It seemed as if a tweak of branch accidentally pricked you. The tip of the sword went through the ground and also went through the snow on the ground. It even entered the chest of the Supreme Masters. Stabbing the heart gives you 1 mark. Only 1 mark. Not more nor less. 1 mark was enough. The creation of heaven and earth caused a violent airflow, and it silently passed through the tip of the sword into the heart and caused the heart to be burnt. All 5 insides were destroyed. At the same time, he controlled his mind and throat. This was a perfect strategy because noises would be made when the hearts of the Supreme Masters were being crushed. Jun Moxie could not be seen struggling. If not, he would be exposed. Jun Moxie will never allow any accidents to occur. Hence, when the sword entered his body, he controlled his mind and throat. On the surface, this Supreme Master's body seemed to be fine, but his internal organs were already a rotten meat. The Supreme Master died of an unclear death. 1 blow. A black sword disappeared. Actually, the black sword did not interact with the air. The one who stuck the sword on the Supreme Master stuck it strongly. The Supreme Master did not even understand, he only felt as if his chest was bitten by a mosquito, and he subsequently lost his consciousness forever. Even until his death, he did not understand. He did not understand why he died despite being able to move around well. He was still waiting to ambush Mei Zun. In the midst of the snow, he kept his body in his original position. He was faithful in keeping his position on the ground. However, now he was unable to be of any use. The wounds from the sword were as narrow as the tree branches. Blood was rushing into the body and filling the entire belly. However, the blood could not be taken out from the body. Jun Moxie did not stop. He began to take back the blood of Yan Huang as the blood was slowly disappearing from the top of the sword. Despite being in the dark, Jun Moxie could feel the sense of excitement coming from the sword on his hands. Maybe it was a wrong intuition. Jun Moxie felt that there was a connection between his mind and the blood of Yan Huang. After killing the Supreme Master, the blood on his sword made him thirst for more blood to be stained on the sword. From then onwards, Jun Moxie's thirst to kill was uncontrollable. The greatest killer emerged after the first assassination. After 8 months, the strongest of the supreme level was opened. This was an amazing starting point. The Supreme Masters that were just killed quietly by Jun Moxie belonged to the left part of the triangle formation. The massacre begins tonight. Now, Jun Moxie's target was the right side of the formation. He was only 2 feet away. Jun Moxie decided not to meddle with those at the top of the triangle formation, for they were the best amongst the supreme power. Jun Moxie did not have the confidence that he would be able to kill those quietly. As a result, he decided to aim for those on the right side of the formation first. Even if the top of the triangle formation decided to attack back, he would have killed 3 at least. It was better than just 2 powerful ones. Stab. The sword quietly pierced through the ground, into the snow. The long sword pierced the captain and it caused his body to explode and be destroyed. And it was retrieved quietly. Jun Moxie went to take a breather under the ground. If anyone were to find him, they will find him with his face all red. These two swords seemed to be quite easy. But in reality, it was difficult to reach in terms of its orientation, angle, shot speed, tyrannical speed input, and its instantaneous control. Any flaw would lead to a failure. After all, his opponent was the Supreme Masters. Other than concentrating on all the skills, Jun Moxie had to gather all the spirits of his body in order to make this silent, murderous and unpredictable sword. As long as a loophole appeared, the Supreme Masters could just shout. So Jun Moxie would absolutely not give them any chance to shout. If it was one sword to deal with one person, he needed two swords to deal with two of the Supreme Masters. This was a huge loss to Jun Moxie. Now, he was trying to recover in the shortest time possible. The next opponent was the strongest amongst the Supreme Masters. If he wanted to die without a sound, he had to be more careful. In front of Taniguchi, Mei Shuayan sat quietly on the big tree, looking around from time to time impatiently. At this sight, all the Supreme Masters realized, how do we not see Jun Moxie, that thief? He is definitely waiting for his lover. No wonder he is so anxious and restless. But, we really do not want to kill your lover. We only want to kill you, be rest assured. He will be fine. Once you come in, everyone will be set free, do not play with us anymore. Everyone was praying from the bottom of their hearts. Mei Shuayan sighed. Her face was filled with resentment and she looked over. Her face that was smeared with a layer of worries made the people around her feel pity for her. She sighed again. Mei Shuayan looked depressed and she was reluctant to look back. Suddenly, she flew down from the tree. You are finally here, you made me anxious. Mei Shuayan walked 3 or 4 steps forward. However, she stopped and turned back. She stopped in the middle of the road, she could not move again. She was not moving again. Xiao Wei Cheng was waiting. My dear grandmother, what are you doing? I know you have never been in love before, but you do not need to resort to this. We are not scared of you coming over. We would let you kill and this will torture people. Just come over here and everything will be set free, whether we die or live. If you die, I die. Mei Shuayan suddenly came back again, walked a few steps and turned over again, walked here and there, pacing back and forth. Life or death was not willing to cross over to the thunder pool. Everyone scolded in their hearts. Even with Xiao Wei Cheng as the strongest Supreme Master, the cultivation of the style of over 100 years have been caught up with. How could such a thing happen? All the masters of the Supreme Golden City seemed to be feeling furious. There was no movement at all. What happened? You should not have come. We were not so anxious even if we did not see you. But you came, why not you stay away from us and let us have the guts to do some activities, you just had to stay so near. You are sitting over there with a worried face. However, we are 1,000 times more depressed than you. So depressing. Super depressing. Where did your love go? Even if it is a solution, such a long time, don't tell me you cannot even bring up a mountain. This story will be continued to chapter 581. For those of you who are not subscribed yet, please subscribe. The interesting and best stories will be updated. See you again in the next episode.